All right, so hopefully you watched the video on how to use Table E, and now we're going to look up probabilities of z-scores with Table E. And this is uploaded on Canvas. I believe it's like day 4 or 5. I'm sorry. I know it's there. It's from last semester, but still good stuff. So when we look at Table E, right, we're going to look at our z-scores, and then we're going to see what the answer to the probability is based on whether it's to the left, to the right, or in between, okay? So way back when we talked about probability, we used that letter P, right? The probability of something. And when we look at this, it says using Table E, find the following areas. An area is another term for probability in this case. So the homework does have left, right, and stuff like that, but it also has it like this. Rather than saying to the left of, it'll say the probability z less than negative 1.30. So this means exactly what this says. We're going to look up this z-score of negative 1.3. Less than means to the left, just like if you think about algebra and you're on a number line. So we're going to look up negative 1.30 on Table E. Again, the first two numbers come from this left-hand column, and the second number comes from up here. So negative 1.3 is right here, and it's negative 1.30, so we hop right there. And hopefully you can see that. Not very well, sorry. It's 0.0968. So that means that this is the probability or the area under the curve to the left of negative 1.30. And then we look at number 2. It says to the left of z less than 1.85. You might see it written like this. So we go to the positive side now. Always make sure you're on the positive side, or if it's positive, or negative if it's negative. And we're going to look up 1.8 in this column here. And we're going to go to the second digit, which is 5, which is going to be up here. So we see we're at 1.8. Here is 5. Go over. 0.9678. And then lastly, to the left of 0.79, you might see it like that, less than. So our first two digits is 0.7, and it's positive, so we go to 0.7 right here. And then the second digit after the decimal is 9, so we go all the way over, and we're at 0.7852. Okay, so long story short, if you have a less than or to the left, the number you get when you look up the z-score is your answer. You don't have to do anything else, okay? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Less than or on the left, answer is the number from table. Okay. But again, we don't always have a less than, we might have a greater than. And we talked about before, if we have a circle graph or a pie chart, all of that equals 100%. So does the bell curve. So all of this equals 100%. And if we have something that says to the right of, or you see it says greater than, that means we're going to have to look up the number and then do some little math right there. So the first thing is we always look up the z-score it tells us. So it's telling us, in this case, negative 2.05. So we go to make sure we have our on the negative side. And careful, it's not 2.50, it's 2.05. So our first two numbers is negative 2.0. And then our digit right there, our last number is 5. So we're going to go over to 5 up here and see where this meets. And looks like it's 0.0202. Okay. So this very small, 0.0202, that's the value to the left of the z-score. But because it says to the right or greater than, we need to find that other side of it. So we need to find a little hard to write. Okay. All right. So we have z is greater than negative 2.05. I'm going to think about where that is. Right there, or about right there. So when we looked up negative 2.05 in table E, we got 0.0202. That's that area right there, or that probability. So if it was to the left, that would be our answer, but it's not to the left, it's greater than, so that means to the right. So that means we need to get all of this as the answer. So when you subtract, you want to remember you're not subtracting the z-scores. You're always subtracting 100% minus your percent you get here, or in decimal form, 1 minus the number you get from looking it up. So all of this bell curve equals 100%. And we could subtract 2.02%, or the answers will be in decimal form. So kind of easier just to keep it in decimal form. Nothing wrong if you like percents though. And we get you see it gets 0.98, right? So a lot of times if you want the 2 digits, we can put some zeros in there. So the answer you get is, you have to get it after you look up that z-score, you get that probability, and you subtract that probability from 1. And this is where you have to remember that probability is always positive. So if you subtract it backwards and you get a negative answer and you try to enter a negative answer, it's not going to like that, because probability is always positive. You can have a negative z-score like we did, but you can't have negative probability as the answer. Okay. So let's look up this one on the 1.52. So if you think about where that's going to fall, before we even look it up, I'll just draw the picture. 0, 1, 2. So 1.52 is about eyeballing it about right here. Okay. So it says z is greater than 1.52. So we're going to look up that value. And the value we get from the table will be all of this area, that area under the curve. All right. So the first two digits is 1.5. The second is 2. So we look that up and we get 0.9357. So all of this is 0.9357. That's to the left. Since it's greater than, that means to the right. So we need to find this amount, that leftover stuff. So we're going to take the full 100% or 1, and we're going to subtract the probability we got from the table. We get 0.0643. And that makes sense because this is a big chunk of the curve, and this is a little itty bitty chunk of the curve. So this is should be a whole lot smaller, right? So this would be our answer. Okay. And again, looking up Z is at negative 1.96. We're going to look up negative 1.96 on the table. And we get negative 1.9, get 0.0250. So Z at negative 1.96 is 0.0250. That's the probability to the left. Since we want to the right, we're going to subtract that. We get 0.975. Notice I'm not rounding any of these, right? Like, well, that was 0, but we keep all 4 digits. Unless it tells you differently in the homework, like if it says round to 3 spaces, then you will round it. But generally speaking, we're not rounding our numbers we get. Just it is what it is. Okay. Last but not least, this is what I call the in-betweeners. So you can have probabilities that are between 2 values, like we did with the empirical rule. And this is just kind of a 2-step thing. So we're going to look up this Z-score of 1.83. We're going to look up this Z-score of 1.09. We're going to get those 2 probabilities, and then we're going to subtract those 2 probability area amounts, okay? So what I want you to remember is that do not subtract the Z-scores. Sometimes people forget, and they know they have to subtract something, so they just subtract the first thing they see. But we're not subtracting these. We're going to subtract the probability values we get from the table. And then, oh, sorry, my cell phone. And again, your answer is always positive. So it's always big number minus small number, okay? Not whatever you see first and then subtract it, because your answer always has to be positive. All right. So we're going to look up 1.83 in table E. So we have 1.8, and then we go over to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And we see it's 0.9664. Not the best focus. All right. Whoa, that's okay. That's better. 0.9664. Then we're going to look up for this question z at 1.09. 1.0, and then go all the way to 9.8621. All right, bigger number minus smaller number. Just happens that they are both, or that's in the order that it is. We get 0.1043. That would be your answer. This is an in-betweener. So here it's written out, but you might also see it looking like this. So we have z is between these two numbers. So that means that's an in-betweener. And we have to use this method. Okay. All right. Let's do number 8. So we have between z equals negative 1.46 and z equals negative 1.98. So we're going to look up z at 1.46. Oops, negative. Don't do those negatives. So we have negative 1.46. So the first two numbers is 1.4. We go over to 6. 0.0721. We're going to look up z at negative 1.98. Go to there, negative 1.9. And then go over to 8.0239. And then we're going to subtract these two, and that will be our answer. And it is big minus small, the way it's set up. And I get 0.0482. So that would be the answer. Okay. And last but not least, we'll look at number 9. Why not? Well, is between z equals 0.24 and z equals negative 1.12. So we look up z at the first value. It's on the positive side, so we want to make sure we go to the positive side. 0.2 are the first two numbers, and then we go over to 4. So it looks like it's 0.5948. We look up z at negative 1.12. Make sure you're on the negative side. Negative 1.1 and then 2, 0, 1, 2. We have 0.1314. Subtract those. Remember, big minus small. We get 0.4634. That will be our answer. So keep in mind, all your answers for probability are always positive in decimal form, and obviously they're really small numbers. When you might see it like this, or you might see it with these type of symbols. So less than means to the left, And your answer is what it is from the table. If you see greater than, that means to the right. So we need the complement or the leftover probability. So that means after we look up that z-score, we subtract that value from 1. So 1 minus whatever we get from that table. If you have an in-betweener, and it'll either say between this and that, or you might have it look like this. Oops. Z is in between these two numbers. Then you look up the z-scores for the two values, and that's what you subtract. And your answer is always positive. All right, crash course in finding probability. If you notice, my daughter drew a heart on my hand, so it's a little bit better this way. So not a permanent tattoo. Maybe we'll get some of those later. All right.